Salutation and welcome to the Serpent Holder's Tarot. Serpent Holder Tarot. So, I'm going to be shuffling, pulling a card. So, I don't have this pre-written, and I probably should, but creativity kind of comes with energy, and when I have the creativity, I sometimes have the energy for it, and oftentimes I don't have the energy when I need the creativity. So it is to say that in this moment of creativity, I have the energy, but that's the relationship, creativity and energy, and I don't always have both at the time that I need them. So this is going to be a general reading where I answer some general questions. And I'll start it like this. Should you be more than just a memory to your ex-partner? The Emperor. That is a big, resounding no. People are so willing to let bridges burn, let castles fall down, let towers fall, and not rebuild. Not only that, in the tower card, most people will fall outside of an opposite window. You don't even have the decency to fall out of the same window with each other, and there's no agreement to, the traditional vow is till death do us part. But I believe that if you really, really in your heart want it, that death will not do you part. It won't. respect that moment of silence, because I think a lot of people take for granted love in the first one. Now, there's all sorts of things like abuse, all different forms of abuse. You're in love with the person you're in love with. Okay? If you're in love with an abuser, you're in love with an abuser. I don't know what's going on inside of you to make that happen, but there's one of two things. Either you're lying and you're not actually in love with that person, and you just want to say that you were in love with that person for the simple fact of you want the fairy tale, you want the story, you want the package, you want to keep up with the Joneses, you want to make it look a certain way. Because why would you be in love with an abuser? How could you not see that a mile away? How could you not see that coming a mile away? And for males, this is a type of an abuse too. I was speaking primarily with the visual of a female in my mind, but for males, the type of abuse is a little bit the more, what's the word I want to use, the more stereotypical abuse that you see from females is flakiness, is being suited by multiple suitors, by hundreds of suitors and stuff like that. And you knew from the moment you looked at her that she would be that kind of person, that she would have hundreds of suitors, and that she would entertain hundreds of suitors over you and stuff like that. We know these things on a deep level, not even subconscious, on a conscious level. We know it just deep, on a deep level. We know these things when we look at the people that we love, that we claim to love, and stuff like that. And but the Emperor, so I was thinking of doing 3 questions in this, but the way I read, I spend so much time on one, and I'm trying to be a little more concise with my readings. Should you be more than just a memory to your ex-partner? The Emperor is more than a fucking memory. Excuse my language. This card is me. As you might know, how I specify and identify in my other readings and my other videos. Now, historically, there are no more emperors in the world. There is no longer any more. There is no longer any emperors. But do you really think that that's going to last? The hardest thing about being an emperor is being, in this context, a separate card from the empress. That is the hardest thing about being the emperor. I have a job that is thrusted upon my shoulders. Upon my shoulders. And it's a job connected to my personality, connected to just who I am. And it is truly unbearable. Because it's like a suit of armor, like it's like a suit of armor that's connected to my life. The armor is feeding, like the armor which comes with the job position is feeding off of my life force. Meanwhile, God knows what's going on with the Empress. Social media has a way of making it look like everything's okay. But God, for the life of me, I can't figure out why you would want to be away from where you started. If you think of people in a third world country, and this is the number 4, and 3 comes before 4, 3 is the Empress card. If you think of people in a third world country, they're not necessarily seeking to move here in droves. And they're not necessarily teaming up to change their countries from being third world. That's a loaded topic, but hear me. No one really, and I can't speak for everyone, so I'm just going to tell you as the Emperor, I do not wish to be away from where I started. Now you can look at this 2 ways. You can look at this as 0, the Fool, being where I started, in which case I have two things to say on that. One, the first I'll say is in the image of the traditional Rider-Waite tarot deck, the Fool hasn't taken the leap. He's not going to take the leap. He clearly sees that it's a cliff and that he will fall. He's just relaxing. He's just tipsy-turvying on the edge. It's an expression of freedom. The second thing I'll say is that the way I would have depicted the Fool is I would have wrote it as the Fools, a counterpart to the Lover's card, and shown two people, both male and female, in that card. That's how I would create the deck. Either way, I do not want to leave from where I started. Now that was one way of looking at it. The second way of looking at it is that the Emperor starts in his area. Now, if you look at it as a continuous story, it's all about the same two people, the Empress and the Emperor, the Lovers, the Fools. It's about the same two people. You need to go home. You need to go back to the person that is your first. Should you be just a memory to this person? No. The Emperor is more than a memory. The Emperor exists in perpetuity. I exist in perpetuity. I exist in the future. To bring order to fools in love. To fools in love. I mean, so many people have cracked relationships to the degree where it's impossible to play with the pieces, where it's impossible to correct the pieces. But maybe it's not. Maybe it takes not moving and I believe me, that's harder than it sounds. Being completely still when momentum is going forward, when momentum, especially with social media, is always doing something. Don't meet new people. A new person isn't going to make your life better. It isn't going to fill that hole that's there because of the person you loved. I'm getting strong visuals. That's why I'm so silent. It's just a flood of visuals of lives, of different people's lives that are crashing and falling apart because of, because they call it love life. Some people have, and in terms of abusers and stuff like that, some people have work to do on themselves. And that's the thing. You should be devoting yourself to doing work on yourself, to fixing the things that are wrong, that are making it so that you and the person that you love cannot be, cannot be together. You need to fix those things. You should be spending all your time doing that instead of hopping to a new person. This means you shouldn't have a dating app. And I have one. And regardless of the reason, I shouldn't. I should be focusing on my tarot, focusing on my career. I have an addiction. I have an addiction to progress, to things that make me feel like you get rewarded for logging on to a dating app every day. And that's unhealthy. Because there is no reward for losing your person. The more you log on to that dating app, the more you lose your person. After this, I'm going to remove myself from dating apps, and I encourage you to do the same. I had a whole series based on dating apps, but I've always been finicky about it. But there is another way to look at it. You could keep the dating app. And you could say, I'm not going to be on my best behavior. For someone that's choosing not to choose me. Because is the dating app choosing someone else other than your person? Or is it just passing time? I can say that there's only so many hours in the day. And the more you devote toward one thing, the more that one thing will grow. Ten of Wands at the bottom of the deck. Burdens. Burdens. There is a way to look at this. You can devote yourself to one thing. It's like jack of all trades, master of none, or master of one. You can devote yourself toward one thing. I could devote myself completely toward tarot and put in more hours on the tarot. Reserve my energy for just making sure my tarot videos are out. Specifically, tarot videos that are more in depth, like this. Or I could live my life in portions and segments, go with the flow, and what I mean by go with the flow is go with what I feel on a day-by-day basis, on a minute-by-minute basis, on an hour-by-hour basis. Go with what I feel, and if I feel like going on a dating app and checking on the dating app, recording that experience and making the most out of it. But going back to this bottom of the deck, the Ten of Wands, that's a huge burden. That's like, that's a lot, it's a lot. It's a lot to record every experience. I've set a limit for myself. A limit has been set for me based on my numerology, and at least that's how I'm able to recognize my limit, is through numerology. I'm a life path 1, attitude number 4, destiny number 3, and some other numbers and stuff like that. Birthday number 2. My limit, things start to get cluttered after 3 things. If it, like, four is the absolute max of anything I can do simultaneously. If it gets higher than that, things get cluttered, backed up, and before you know it, I don't have enough time in the day to address everything, and so I have to mass delete stuff on my phone. So I've resolved to being like, well, if I didn't get it done in that day, delete it. This isn't about being your inner emperor or your outer emperor. This isn't about being any of the cards in the tarot. This is actually, I would say, quite the opposite. The tarot is there for you to recognize signs of how to exist outside of it, because the tarot is very static. I wouldn't wish my life on my worst enemy. And I'm saying that with an apartment, and one day soon, I believe I will have a car as well. Not too distant future. I'm saying that with employment lined up. I'm set to start employment as a crossing guard August 17th, 2026. I'm saying that with income. I'm saying that with things being relatively good. And I would not wish my life on my worst enemy, because where there's good, there's bad, and the bad is bad, and it doesn't necessarily and the good doesn't necessarily overshadow the bad. It could just be one bad thing, but it's still bad enough, and it's not just because it's that one thing that it's kind of exacerbated, or it makes it worse. That one thing that is bad. And what is that one thing? Well, it's obvious. It's the Emperor. It's the relationship with the Empress. In your case, it's the relationship that you have, as I'm trying to specify to you, with the first person that you loved. You are years away from that person, like I am. It's been almost 8 years now that I've been separated from the Empress. Years away. And all I want to do is get back to her. I've already tried making separate accounts to contact her because I'm blocked. And I don't want to do that anymore. As much as it, in my heart, it feels like if I could just keep trying and keep trying, that maybe she'll change her mind, change her heart toward me. As much as it feels like that kind of gives like a good sort of feeling, it's not the feeling I want to go for. I'd rather work on my craft, work on getting this armor off that's linked into my life force. I'd rather focus on not hurting another woman again in my life. Whatever it is, I'm not going to say whatever it is, you need to focus on you. Whether you have drug addictions, whether you have an attitude problem, whether you have a temperamental problem, which is basically an attitude problem, but just in case that wasn't clear for some, whether you have a confrontational problem, which is probably still an attitude problem, you need to work on yourself. And you need to make sure that you are the man, the male, that you come into manhood as the person that she needs, that your partner needs, that your significant other needs. Work on your craft. You see, because if every male is doing that, There is no male that is there to take your partner from you. And I understand that now. I mean, I understand that clearer. I've always understood that, but in the sauce, so to speak, it gets blurry, and I forget how important it is that I forget how just important that is. Me being on a dating app is me taking something from some other male. If I'm focused on my craft, if I'm on a dating app, that means I'm potentially taking a partner from someone else, someone who was with that person before me. If I'm focused on my craft, focused on strictly tarot without the dating aspect, then that can't happen. And if you're a mechanic and you're focused on building cars and stuff like that, or fixing cars, and not focused on the dating scene, then you're not doing that. And that's what I mean by focusing on a craft. Not just the external crafts, but in focusing on yourself and your internal craft. If all men are doing that, then there's no one to take your partner. I think I am going to end the dating series. I'm going to make an announcement video. I just don't want to pick it back up. That's my biggest thing. I want to actually be done with it. I don't want to say I'm done with it and then pick it back up. There's still some use that I see I can get out of it. Primarily, what I was swiping for on the dating app was to eliminate people. To eliminate lovers. Basically, I wanted to get rid of as many people as possible by swiping on them and record me swiping on them. That way I have a log of all the people that I've swiped through. But that implies that I have to swipe, and I don't. And if every swipe is a physical contact, whether it's left or right, it's a body count. I'm very close to being okay with being alone. I'm very close. I just don't want to jump. I just don't want to make a decision that I then make another decision that reverses that previous decision I made. I don't want to do that. And I don't want it to be a battle for me to try and hold that position. It should not be a struggle. It should be completely easy. Oh, it's so difficult. A part of me wants to document how many people do not match me. But that's still, it's gross, because what am I really saying here? Like, I would be safer just not swiping at all. It's hard for me because that's such a beautiful feature of life, to be able to swipe and match with people. And just see different profiles. It's a good way to meet people, to see people you wouldn't otherwise see. I don't want to do anything drastic, so I'm going to take my time. There is a vision I have of my life and being with multiple women, not at the same time, but one after the other, for a long period of time. What is a long period of time? Well, although my relationship officially only was a year titled. It lasted about 8 years. It's a big jump, but I feel 20 years. I feel this period of 20 years would be the duration of my next relationship. If it's not with my person that I want to be with. But again, I can't have a new relationship without taking from someone else's past partner. Someone who I know that female will still love and that male will still love her. And that right there is there's no getting around it. So I'm half tempted to X through X through all the options of possibly matching, recording me going through those people for the record, for the archive. But that still feels wrong. Feels so much better to just not be on the dating app. And I must admit that well, no, I don't have to. It's not a crime. caliber of people in short, as I've said, you should not remain just a memory to your person. And now you have to do everything in your power to make sure that you are not just a memory to your person. And I mean really do everything in your power. And it's the same, I have to do the same thing. I'm a young emperor. Well, I'm a maturing emperor. I'm not young anymore. I'm 31. I'm a maturing emperor. I'm in my cycle of maturity. I'm growing into the stages of where I become a man, but that won't be for some more time. I still have more time before that's the case. I just left my cycle of youth. I just left my 20s. So I'm on this journey with you. Some of you are ahead in the sense that of years. Grown men. Others of you are young males. I don't have a way to track your progress, to hold you accountable for actually doing what my counsel is telling you to do. So like, comment, share, and subscribe for the simple fact that I'm telling you to do this. That I'm saying you should do this. Don't like, comment, and share because I've made you do it, because I don't know if you actually will succeed. But I can tell you one thing, I'm not going to fail. I just need time to process. And that is the Serpent Holder Tarot. Thank you for watching. Have a good night or day wherever you are.